Throughout the social and scientific worlds, there's a controversy surrounding the potential to genetically modify embryos to create designer babies. Trait selection and enhancement in embryos raises moral issues involving both individuals and society. These embryos are screened for genetic diseases and will only contain selected and desired qualities chosen by their parents. Many times, the media will exaggerate and distort the facts about the term designer babies itself, but it's important to think about the likelihood and implications of this idea, plus to really think about what actually gave rise to this concept.
The idea of genetically engineered embryos originated in the year 1978, along with the first in vitro fertilization treatment. The procedure gave and still gives hundreds of infertile couples a chance to have a child of their own by transferring an egg fertilized in the laboratory into the mother's uterus. It ended up leading to a procedure known as pre-implementation genetic diagnosis. This is a technique that's used on. It is a form of genetic profiling and embryo screening and is a more technical and accurate way of making these designer babies. There's many benefits to it, like using PGD means embryos can be screened outside the womb. Embryos can be selected that only carry normal and healthy genes, so then they become free from genetic abnormalities. Right now, this technique is currently popular, but PGD could be in the future used to select any desired specific trait of a child, such as eye color, intelligence, and being athletic. It can be used to select babies to be without a genetic disorder, to increase successful pregnancies, to match a sibling in order to be a donor, for gender selection, and basically be used to design your own baby. Selecting the gender of a child is already possible due to the fact only the X or Y chromosomes needs to be identified, but other traits are more difficult because there is so much more genetic material that is needed. Recent breakthroughs have meant that every single chromosome in an embryo can be scanned for genes involved in anything from Down syndrome to being lactose intolerant using a single microchip. All these advancements are great, but now ethics really comes into play.
There's a large assortment of ethical, social, and scientific concerns over the concept of actually creating the perfect child. Some people worry, but in the future, there's going to be an imbalance in the general population, especially in societies that favor boys over girls, like China. Also, another issue that's common is that there's an element of trait preference to this idea. PGD will mean that people with unattractive qualities will be lessened, and then society is going to discriminate against those who haven't been treated. If we look at this from a more extreme perspective, it could end up that we're going to have a race of superhumans, and then it's going to create a divide between those who have been treated and those who haven't. This selection of genotypes also suggests a potential damaging effect on the human gene pool, meaning less genetic variation. This really does seem positive since you could eliminate genetic disorders such as hemophilia before it really becomes prevalent in your body, but it's also likely that new diseases may evolve and accidentally be introduced in the human race.